Yeah, that's definitely extreme, but it definitely gets to my point. People sort of bury their heads and say this guy is going to go away and this and that and the other thing, and before you know it, he was the Chancellor of Germany, and we all know the rest. We cannot continue to have our mainstay, which is sports, the thing that I think most of us gravitate to and affects us all sooner or later. Continue to go in the direction which is going.
Spiraling downward.
Spiraling downward, that's exactly right. Sports, they used to say he's a sportsman. It was all good. Everything about sports was really good. I mean, amateur sports and sports in general. But now it has a very bad taste in many people's mouths.
Why is it so bad, other than the 20-second timeout and the commercials that you talk about? What's so terrible?
Well, let's take the $120 million that someone may make, and you think, oh, I'm not a sports fan. It doesn't affect me. Well, what about if your doctor goes to the game, takes his family, ticket prices go up twice as much. The next month when you go visit your doctor, your bill has about 15% higher price on it because he has to get that money back from somewhere. So it's the domino principle which affects us all. And we got to be very, very, the fact is also, are we teaching a society that's all about money? Only a small amount of people make the real money that's we hear about. And they're making it seem like it's all about money and not about the love of what you're doing.
But a lot of society is about money.
Of course.
We can't...
Money and disrespect. You're saying, when I tell people that we during our time mainly play for the love of the game, they say hogwash. Right. Hogwash because, understand, when I came along, guys were making $4,000 and $5,000 a year. All of them were mainly college graduates who could have gone into their own profession and made $8,000 or $9,000 or $10,000, but they played basketball because they loved it. Today, is any guy out there, can he make the kind of money anywhere else other than what he's doing in sports? The answer is definitely not.
Well, you used to say a player is entitled to as much money as he can make, as he can get it. And when I ask players, Wilt, on this show, who are paid hundreds of millions, are you worth that? They say, hey, if they're willing to pay it, I'm willing to take it.
Yeah. Well, I think that you can get a little bit too greedy. I think probably the only guy who's worth definitely in basketball, the money that he's making, and maybe he should get 10% of everyone's salary, is Michael Jordan. Understand? And I mean, I don't say that these guys shouldn't go out there and try to get what they should get, but after a while, there becomes a limit, and it makes it look bad for all the rest of the world, so to speak.
Michael Jordan, and yet it bothers you when people talk about him as being the greatest player of all time.
Well, it bothers me because we all have our opinions, and I don't think that, commensurate with what he's doing, what he's done, and how the game is going today, that he's better than Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, Bill Russell, a number of people.
The greatest scorer of all time? Not even. Would you even give him that?
Well, you see, what people don't remember was that my first 7 years, I scored a lot of points. Then I stopped scoring on my own volition. I tried to do other things. I was asked to do other things, and that's what I did. For the last 7 years, it wasn't about points to me. It was about trying to do other things. So when they compare me with Michael's averaging 31 points for his lifetime. I averaged about 30 points for a lifetime. But I stopped scoring. Understand? Like I'm saying, so if I had continued to score, I would probably be averaging 40 points for my whole lifetime. Does that make me the best scorer? I really don't know. But one thing I do know, that all the years while I was usually scoring all those points, I was leading the league in percentile shooting. And that's also important because if you take all the shots, then you should be making the highest percentage. I mean, there are guys like Charles Barkley who shoot 54, 55%. If he shot as much as Michael, he'd be scoring more points.
You have the 4 highest averages of all time, and I mentioned at the top of the show, and this is what's stunning to me, to average. And I don't know if people truly, the general public, truly can appreciate what it means to average 50 points a game over an entire season. Some guys just say, hey, they're in a zone if they scored 50 in one night. So you had to do that. When you look back, is that your greatest accomplishment?
Without a doubt. I used to think later on in the season, if I go out here tonight and score 39 points, I will have let my team down. I'm 11 points below whatever they expect this from me, and this is what I have to go out there and do. No, it is, when I look back on it right now, that and probably playing 48.4 minutes a game for that entire season are the two things that I really reflect on as being the best I've ever done in basketball.
You led the league in scoring
individually, it is.
7 straight years. So obviously those numbers give you the credibility to say some of the things you're saying about today's game, Will. But what about the person out there, the young player who's saying, well, he's just an old retared player who's bitter about having missed the window of opportunity where there's all that money?
Well, I'm not bitter. I'm really sad. You understand that I missed a chance to make all that money that they're now making. But no, I'm not bitter because I think that I played in the golden age. I think that I played when athletes really, truly loved what they were doing. I think basketball was at its peak as far as the game being played correctly, technically, and for love, as I see it. And I'm very happy to have been a part of that. And I am not bitter. I'm a sports fan. I watch everything you can possibly watch. There are many great athletes out there and many people who are playing who feel the same way as I do. But there are too many out there who only are interested in making that buck.
But I don't see that basketball is necessarily crumbling when you talk about some of the problems. But before we take the break, in your book, Who's Running the Asylum, you talk about a number of issues. Are there any solutions that you can rattle off?
Oh, yeah, but when I say crumbling, you mean to think there's this parity? There's 8 or 9 teams out there last year who played 300 ball and less. I've never seen that when I was playing. If that's not crumbling, I don't know what is crumbling. You understand? So yeah, there is a way to have a solution. When you have new teams coming to the league, give them a chance to have better people on their team. They have a grab bag situation, which they throw in the 3 or 4 worst guys from each team into a grab bag, and one guy is picked to be on each of the teams, the new teams. Well, how about only being able to hold 5 guys back on each team and give something good in that grab bag so the new teams can start off with some good players. And that's one way to solve some of the problems of non-parity which you have today.
I will continue talking with Wilt Chamberlain. I'm going to ask about that 20,000 women thing, too. That was from another book, but wow, that deserves a wow. Here's a Wiltism in the book, Who's Running the Asylum. How do you know whether you're watching a game or a commercial? You know it's a commercial if the players are making all their shots. We'll continue with Wilt Chamberlain from Los Angeles up close in a moment. I'm an all-star. The book out now. Who's Running the Asylum? And Wilt, how can people pick this up?
Well, it's an 800 number.
1-800-280-1776.
That's right. 280. You're very good. 176. You're even good with numbers.
That's my job. It's what I do.
1776. You're right.
The proceeds, though, go to charity.
Yeah. The proceeds of this book are going to go to the various charities that I'm involved with, and I feel very, very happy about that. And so let's get out here and buy some of these books.
Your first book was titled Wilt, a straightforward autobiography. The second book called A View from Above, and this is the book that created a lot more controversy, I guess we could say. And I pulled an excerpt from this because this caught my attention about being with 20,000 different women. And what exactly was in the book, if we can see that, if I had to count my sexual encounters, I'd be closing in on 20,000 women. That equals to having sex with 1.2 women a day, every day since I was 15 years old. What kind of reaction did you receive after that?
Well,
and do you still receive?
I still receive. I'm probably more famous or infamous for that than the 100 points. What one was trying to do, though, is in using a figure of speech and bring attention to sexual situations that I was involved with without being really explicit, without calling names, and also leading to the latter part of that chapter. The chapter was Sex Rules the World. And I was trying to let people know that, yes, I was involved. And the last sentences of that chapter, I say that for all you men who think that having 1,000 different women is really cool, I have found out that having one woman 1,000 different times is really the way to go. But no one ever really picked up on that. They went to pick up because, once again, we're all about numbers. And so,
well, why was that in the book in the first place? Because sex was an important part of your life.
Absolutely right. And I'm explaining to you about my life and how I viewed it. In order to explain to me about sex, I have to know something about it. You understand? If I'm going to talk to you about cooking and about food, I should know something about it. So I was explaining, yes, I've been involved. You understand? And maybe, maybe I want to tell you that I was coming out of the closet or whatever, however. But I was telling you about, yes, I have been involved with sex as I was involved with basketball.
How did you come up with that number, though? Did you stop and...
No, I came up with that number because I just tried to, guesstimate, the best I possibly could.
Are you close? Is it really that close?
Well, who knows?
Because I kept looking for pictures in the book.
You kept looking for pictures, right?
And I just was getting the... Are you sorry, though, in a way that it came out the way it did?
Yes, and I'm glad you asked that question. I'm sorry it did because it took away from some other parts of the book, but I'm more sorry because there's an apology owed by me to the women that I've known and the women that I do know, that they were never meant to be a number. And that's how a lot of people are taking it. I mean, you could have short romances, short situations could be just as good as these people who live one together for 15, 20 years, and they're fighting all the time, and they don't really like each other, and so on and so forth. So I'm only saying that my apology goes up to the women, that they weren't meant to be put into a situation where they look like a number.
Well, one would get the impression that you're endorsing promiscuity.
Yeah, absolutely. This was my first book that I wrote, and I've been saying this on shows throughout the last 5 years. No, I am definitely not endorsing promiscuity. I'm talking about also, remember, an era where things were quite different. Women discovered contraceptives. We're talking 1960, 1961, in the 50s, the sexual revolution was really going on. I was a young man involved with that. So I was letting people know this is what was happening during my life at that particular time. I should have been a little bit more clear on, on today's situation, which I thought people really kind of understood. But it's given me a chance, though, over the last 5 years, as I'm talking on this show, to address promiscuity and how people should conduct themselves sexually.
I don't want to pry, but have you cut back on the number?
Well, I'm still a single man.
Yes.
And I'm still, I'm still involved. But I
did you ever just want one, though? With the monogamous?
If you've read my book, you would see I'm saying to you that one is the way to go.
But you have to go through all those to figure that out.
Well, I had to. You understand? Now, what you may have to, you understand?
Well, I have other problems.
Okay,
but
right.
You've never been married, right? And do you, in hindsight, look back over your life and say, I wonder what that would have been like?
Well, yes, I do. But let's go back to the 20,000. Let's also take the fact that, the 20,000 women, they weren't beaten across the head and dragged in.
Right,
you don't hear anything negative about, these women saying that I raped them.
They weren't complaining.
No one's complaining. So why is there a problem? Other than the fact that I don't want to make it look like I say, you're trying to promote promiscuity. But there is no problem. I think that, the people really get on Don Juan and, and Casanova, and I'm not comparing, but all of a sudden, just because I came up with a number, people come up with like it's something really bad. I haven't done anything bad. We didn't twist people's arms here. We're talking about mutual consent by adults.
All right, and he is an adult. We're talking with Wilt Chamberlain. I kid because I care. We'll have more. We'll talk about who's running the asylum later. Would he take George Mirzan or Shaquille O'Neal? We'll ask him about that. Here's a Wiltism from Who's Running the Asylum. Remember, our bed is made from the words we have said, since we must sleep in it until we are dead. We should wash our mouths and use our head. And that goes for you too, Wilty. He said that. Yeah. We'll be back with Wilt Chamberlain up close in a moment. Don't go away. About the book, Who's Running the Asylum. Now, you said George Mirzan, in many ways, has more talent than Shaquille O'Neal, and if you had to choose between Shaq or George, you would take George. This is in your book. Now, explain this one.
Yeah, now you're leaving off something. I'm saying as they call fouls, though, today, Shaq gets away with what I would consider murder.
So they let him go.
Yeah, I would think that when you dip your shoulder and you run over top of a guy and the foul's called on the guy laying on the floor, you're getting away with something. So Shaq is allowed maybe to score some points that maybe he wouldn't get. But if you made a straight-up situation and gave the same rules and regulations to Shaq as you give to George Mirzan, Mirzan has a better touch around the basket and he can score more points. And if the Bullets had enough sense to give him the ball 20, 25 times and let him shoot the ball like somebody else, Mirzan may be averaging 30 points a game. But for some odd reason, they don't want to give the ball to Mirzan like that.
Oh, wow. All right. Does Shaquille O'Neal, did he deserve to be on the NBA's 50 greatest all-time players list?
That's an objective thing by guys, including myself, who voted. I did not vote for Shaquille. I think that maybe he has not put enough time as a professional to be on that list. I don't think he has. Maybe 10 years later, in the 60 year, he may be there. And he's getting better and better and better. But that list is for people that already have accomplished things.
All right, how about greatest center of all time? We take you into consideration in your great rivalry with Bill Russell. Undoubtedly, would you say you're the greatest center of all time?
Well, once again, that's something for people to make their own decision on. I did what I had to do from the center position. Bill Russell was the best I've ever played against. But today's centers, I'll take Olajuwon and Patrick Ewing, understand? Which brings me to a point about media.